Welcome back to the 2023 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage brought to you by Hooked on Driving. Today, we are joined by Team Underdogs with JD Cruel and Adam Spence here with us. So, gentlemen, please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're driving this year.
Go ahead,
JD,
Adam.
I'll let you go first.
All right. As Solomon indicated, my name is JD Kroll. I had my rookie year at One Lap last year. I'll let Adam talk about the car since he's providing that contribution this year. In terms of me and my driving experience, back in late 2015, I bought a fun car and quickly realized that I couldn't experience its full potential on public streets, not legally, not safely. And Adam was kind enough to go to lunch with me and introduce me to the motorsports community. I'm an old dog learning new tricks, but I'm trying to catch up. Over the last 4 years, I have averaged over 50 track days per year.
Wow. Okay.
How do I follow that?
I don't know, but good luck.
So, yeah, hey guys, my name's Adam Spence, and this year we'll be running a 2015 Audi S4, which has gone through a lot in the last few months. We've had a range of different issues, which I probably will go into a little bit later, but we're excited to get it back out on track. It's already been out once, so it got shaken down, and a few corrections have been made, and excited to go on a one-lap adventure with it. As JD might have mentioned, I'm what I think is referred to as a pup in the one-lap community. I've been watching some of the interviews, and there seems to be that reference. So I'm excited to go and see what it's all about. And after the last couple of months I've had, to hopefully get some sleep. So that's probably wishful thinking, but there's the plan.
Yeah, that won't happen. But, so on the topic of lap dog to lap pup, JD, as you mentioned, you did the event last year. I remember seeing you there last year. However, you still have the lap pup designation because you haven't finished your event from last year still. You have one open event that you have not yet completed. And of course, we're talking about the initiation by Howard. I mean, that's usually the first thing, but you've got to do two this year. You have to finish off last year's and then start this year's because you need to bring Adam into it.
Deal.
So he will sleep well, at least in the first night once we get there. So that'll be great. No, but we're excited to have you, and we're not going to go too deep into this year because I know we're going to talk about it more throughout the one lap as we're catching up. But I do want to thank you guys because obviously both of you fine gentlemen working for Garmin, and you have come on board as the official watch sponsor of this year, and for the winning team are providing 2 Catalyst units as well as 2 Mark Adventure units, watches, which are really cool. Similar one here. I love it. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Thank you guys for coming on board. Now that that's done, let's get into the real important stuff. What are you really looking forward to this year? I mean, JD, you did this last year, so you sort of know what to expect. So it's a 2-part question. What are you most looking forward to this year? And what are you changing from last year? And then Adam, what are you looking forward to this year? And what terrifies you about this year potentially?
So for me, I will say last year I was kind of dreading the transits. And then in the end, that was some of the most fun. Driving up and down the highways, and you give us all these stickers, right? And the cars are just covered with them. So it's pretty easy to recognize the other participants when they go blazing past you on the highway, right?
At the speed limit.
Yes, because I'm really slow. But I mean, you well, especially on the long ones, right? You get in the car, you drive, you burn up a tank of gas, you pull off, and while you're pulled off, right, or somebody else is pulled off, well, you're just doing this constant rotation, right, as people catch up with you or you catch up with others and so forth. So that was fun, even entertaining. I didn't, in the end, what do I want to say, dread it anymore, right? I'm looking forward to that aspect this year. Although I will say, there's going to be 3 long transits. I spent some time last night just trying to get the big picture in my head, and it's like, wow. Not to mention that just getting there and home are also long transits for us in the Kansas City area. You might have noticed my patriotism here.
You have our old coach there, Andy Reid.
Yes. And thank you for that contribution. We have really enjoyed and appreciated him. Anyway, back to driving. So last year we divided up the track driving. I drove with Scott Donahue, by the way, just for those others watching. Another of my great mentors and coaches that's done wonders for me, including just the event last year, pulling me into the fold. But so I think this year we're going to mix it up a little bit more in terms of that. For instance, Adam and I have been arm wrestling over Road Atlanta. And last year I remember we stopped by on the way from Carolina to Alabama and drove the Lanier Raceplex.
Yep.
Yeah. We were right across the street from one of my favorite tracks that I rarely get to drive at, because did I mention that we're in the Kansas City area? That's a long way away. And to drive right next door and not get to take a lap was kind of painful. So I'm looking forward to getting back there, and so I think we'll each take a round on that stop.
Well, that'll be good. So we'll catch up with you then, because we want to see who's faster then. Because and you could talk about the catalyst on that one. That I want to hear about. I want to see the data on that one. But we'll get into that afterwards. But Adam, all right, what about you? What do you got?
Yeah, so I think more than anything, I've done a range of different racing formats over the year, from endurance racing, karting, autocross, road racing, you name it. You know, I've done a varied amount of different types. So more than anything, I'm looking forward to seeing the country as well as all these different tracks in a very compressed, period of time. JD mentioned about obviously the distance for us from some tracks. We're really lucky here in the Midwest, so we've got a bunch of tracks that are just fantastic and all within sort of 10 hours. But some other tracks are a little bit further afield. So seeing so many tracks in such a short period of time, I'm just looking forward to. Now, you also mentioned what am I worried about? Some of it I definitely think is the transits. I, probably like JD was last year, I'm sat there apprehensive that I don't know what to expect. Now, the car itself should be okay the whole way. I mean, it's been, when I picked it up, I actually had to drive it back from Milwaukee to Kansas City. So it made that, and it's made various other trips in between. I guess that was a mini transit. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where the unknown, I think, is one of those things which, is perhaps a little bit worrying. So.
Excellent. All right, Brian, what do you got?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about the long transits. If you break them down mentally into 75 to 100 mile blocks, and you just reset your mind every 75 to 100 miles, they're actually not bad.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I've always done it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
11 years and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Adam, what performance upgrades have you done to the Audi? And second, what tires are you guys running this year?
So I'll let JD answer the tires. He actually selected those. But in terms of performance upgrades, so when I picked up the vehicle, it had actually been fairly heavily modified, which was a little bit worrying. So it had everything from a straight through exhaust. Like, I mean, I'm talking like there was nothing between the headers and the outside world. And so there I am driving back from Milwaukee with ear defenders on to try and just survive because it was that bad. So it's had a proper exhaust system put on now, so that has been taken care of. There was a dual pulley tune to it, which for the first shakedown was not going to happen, so it went back to stock. So we're kind of somewhere in between now, just to kind of give us a little bit of an edge, but again, to try and keep things simple. Apart from that and a brake upgrade, I'm trying to keep everything stock. Now, over the past couple of weeks, it's had a lot of maintenance done to it because after the first shakedown, got it back on the lift, started to go through things. And I noticed things like it was missing 50% of the header bolts that where the cats connect to the header. And so the studs are broken off, and there was a job there to do that. Now, in that process, that did actually lead to a little bit of an issue where it gave me 6 stitches. So that's never good just before the event. But I'm bonding with the car. I think it's one that has already shared some experiences.
So you should talk to Mark Matisse, because last year before he came out, he wound up with a bunch of stitches from a NASA race. So you guys will get along great.
Oh, fantastic! We can compare war wounds.
Did you say bonding or bondage?
Definitely bonding. But apart from that, I mean, it's got upgraded front brakes because it's a heavy platform, and so we're having to take care of that. So the brakes were the priority, and in the last couple of weeks, we managed to take 300 pounds out of it. A lot actually from the unsprung mass, which has been really good. So I'm hopeful that we'll make a tremendous difference at the various different events and opportunities we have to put it through its paces.
Well, it should be a fun ride. I mean, all-wheel drive and the variety of tracks that we have and the potential for very varied weather. I think that should be a pretty good ride and comfortable on the highways too for those, transits that you were discussing. So, all right, JD, talk to us about the tires. The round and black, which ones did you get?
So before we get to tires, I just want to comment on when Adam first described to me that only half of the bolts were present to hold the exhaust to the head. We won't talk about how long it took to get the old ones out, but after 2 hours of helping him, since he's now one-handed, yeah, there you go. Ouch. Sorry about that. I try to warn people normally, don't look, like Ray Stevens and the Streak. But anyway, so after 2 hours of trying to get just 6 nuts torqued on this thing, I realized why they left half of them out. Now, I've got kind of big hands and arms, and so it's a bit of a challenge there, but oh my gosh. Yeah, we should have pulled the engine.
Yeah, it would have been quicker.
To the exhaust.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so tires. We didn't pick tires. It was a process of elimination for what tires are available. Oh my gosh. What's up with the world and tires? In sizes. It's like, I don't think we could have brought the 911 this year because there's not tires available. In fact, we kind of had that in the background as a backup car. It's like we drove it last year. We could drive it again this year. In fact, I really enjoyed driving that car in the event last year, especially for the transits. But buying tires, we ended up with that would fit the wheels that will fit this car without modification. The Bridgestone RE71 RS. Don't have any experience with it. I've heard good things, and we'll find out.
If you've watched the interview with Andy Hollis, and who is now one of the premier tire testers in the world, isn't that what he's running?
I believe it is.
So not a bad choice.
All
tires
right.
to you. So yeah.
It's funny you say that. I'm literally in the middle of Andy's interview for where I'm at walking down the tiers, and we haven't got the tires yet, so I didn't know that.
So he is, and Andy's tire reviews through Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, our presenting sponsor. He does his tire reviews all throughout the year, and he's always at racetracks, either in the McLaren and hoping that it starts, or in the Miata doing a lot of testing. And those are the tires. In fact, I know he wanted to run them last year. He ran into an issue, and we did speak about that briefly, but he did then have the opportunity to run them this year, and he really likes them. His assessment was that they're really good repeatability, they're really good consistent, and they offer decent wet weather performance. As long as there's no real standing water out there, you should be good. So he's been very impressed with them. So good choice.
Yeah, the tires we used last year were phenomenal in the dry. And oh boy, it was fun hanging on at Hallett, because I'm pretty sure my first stint at Hallett was the worst one. I think it was the third group, right? Because we got rained out, or lightninged out, not rained out, right? We drive in the rain. Okay, so Lightning, I was literally front of the grid when they called it. So we go inside, we come back out, we got one run group in, mine. After the Lightning delay was done, but it was still raining and it was raining hard. And on my final lap, kaboom, right in front of me. And it's like, well, here we go again.
Yeah, I don't think raining is the right term for it. I think there's rain, there's flooding, there's driving rain, there's tsunamis, there's the ocean, and then there's Hallett from last year. It was unbelievably.
It was.
I mean, I think the last time we saw rain like that was going to Hallett
In
in
2015.
2015 from Texas when we had all the tornadoes coming through. That was a peach. And by that I mean one of the scariest drives I've done in my life. But we can go into that another time and how many times it was tiring at the end of the day.
Yes.
All right,
So-
what else you got?
So, do you guys like each other enough to be in such close proximity for 8 days? Get away.
We're going to find out.
That's a great question. So
Who's
yeah,
the
the ongoing
Taco Bell
debate
fan?
is, okay, at each stop, are we sharing a room or are we getting double rooms? And so there's a variety of that, just like we're mixing it up on the racetracks.
Okay.
I
Very
think
good.
we started, I mean, it was probably 2015 or somewhere around there, heading to tracks for, a couple of hours at a time in cars. And we've done a lot of different traveling together, for like PRI and others. So I think it would be fine. Yeah.
Well, we hope so. If not, I mean, there's always a side of the road. But duck and roll. All right. So, what are you most looking forward to about the event this year? I guess we know what track you're looking forward to, but in terms of the overall experience, I mean, I know you've grown more fond of the transits; they're not as scary. But what are you most looking forward to? And let's because I don't think we've asked this question yet. What does the event mean to you, and what do you hope to get out of it this year?
Motorsports community, right, has done so much for me. Again, old dog, learning new tricks, introduced to this world that I never knew existed. Getting to meet more and more drivers. One of the stops, right? Got to know the winged grandpas. It was fun watching. In fact, I jumped ahead to their interview first. And that's where we were talking about the initiation as well. So the camaraderie, I think, is probably the top item on the list for the thing. And it's like after last year, it's like I want to go back. It was just it was grueling. I mean, by the time you get home, it takes another week to recover. The sleep thing wasn't quite so bad because we did pretty good to be able to sleep in the car when one was driving. So even though some of the nights were short, it wasn't horrible. Now, part of that was, and somebody mentioned it in one of the interviews, but if you qualify high enough, you get on the road quick and get to the next stop and maybe even get to stop for a meal. Not that Scott would allow me to stop last year. He brought this collection of healthy snacks. So he helped me with my dieting on the trip. And even that part turned out not to be too bad. Because driving up down the road with a full stomach isn't necessarily fun either. But no, I would say for me, the top thing I'm looking forward to is just spending time with the motorsports community and developing more camaraderie.
All right, Adam.
So I think I definitely echo a lot of what JD said. The motorsport community has given a lot to me over the years. I've been involved for a while now, even back in England. But every year, I learn something. I meet new people. I'm really looking forward to that. Just to add another element to the experience and all the rest of it. I think overall, I mean, the goal is to have fun and finish. First and foremost, I think if we set our expectations and sights there, that's a good goal to have, and I think that's important. And hopefully not finish last, but we'll see.
Excellent. So as we're starting to wrap this up, we usually end with this question here. If people see you in the paddock or coming, to visit the event, and they see you around or they see you on the road at a rest stop, whatever it might be, what's one thing that they should know about your team, and what's one thing that they can give you, either put on your car, give to you, or something that might give you a laugh or give you some some more incentive to keep moving? We've had Red Bulls as an answer. We've had some people enjoy Buc-ee's. So yeah,
the maple syrup old fashioned is my favorite drink. So that initiation I'm really looking forward to. So in terms of the gift, now the one thing to know about us. All right, so I'm going to call Adam out here. The catalyst is Adam's brainchild. All right, and it's our secret weapon.
Okay.
So
we'll get into that more in a week, I'm sure.
We have an unfair advantage because not only do we have one or two or more.
You have the catalyst behind the catalyst.
Yeah, there you go. We know how to use them. And if anybody has questions, ask. I can't help but help people learn how to take advantage of the catalyst. It can be your secret weapon too.
Nice. So, all right. So maybe that's what we should call Adam. We'll get a little T-shirt made up. The catalyst, Cataly, something.
Catalyst father.
I always end up with a nickname in motorsport communities. I don't know why.
Is that one of the better ones, or are we not allowed to say the names?
Right.
I don't know. It's pretty obvious. And it's a funny story that I only recently learned. But if you go look up Adam in the NASA registration, which one lap is a NASA sanctioned event, right? So yes. Here we come. We're NASA. It's Adam and in quotes English Spence.
So yeah, that came from it was at the time when we were doing a lot of NASA, probably 8 years or so ago. There were two Adams in the group that we were doing it with, and so to distinguish it, it wasn't call me by my last name. It was just literally to call me English, which is like okay.
I thought he was from Mississippi.
Me too. Anyway.
What's really fun though is we send him back home at least once a year just to refresh his accent. So he comes back and it's all tuned up and he even uses some interesting words.
So on that note, I've got a question for you guys. I've always wondered this and pondered this. So we recently became US citizens, after 13 years, being in the US. So if I was to put my name on the car with a flag, what flag would I use?
Both?
You could have United States versus Britain, and you could just sort of have there, or World War, have you. So it's fine, whichever works. It's cool. I would suggest for the one lap just having I'm sorry, officer, and just leaving it at that. But we do have to wrap things up because we have a couple others to do tonight as we're leading up to the event. So this one's going to air on Thursday as we get to South Bend, and we look forward to that because we'll be on the road driving at night anyhow to South Bend through the night to get there for Friday morning. So this will air Thursday. So we will absolutely look forward to seeing you in South Bend. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you again for your support of the event. We greatly appreciate it. We're looking forward to the start of a wonderful partnership. So for the 2023 Tire Rack One Lap of America presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage brought to you by Hooked on Driving, I'm Solomon, that's Brian, and here we have Team Underdogs with JD and Adam, English Adam. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a fantastic evening.
Thanks, guys.